Okay, hello everyone. Thank you very much for give your attention and commitment to follow our lesson now, which is chapter number 8. All right. So before we study chapter number 7, okay, the nature of industry. Okay, in chapter 7, we examine the nature of industry and saw that industries differ with respect to their underlying structures, conduct, and performances. In this chapter, we characterize the optimal price, output, and advertising decision of manager operating in environment of perfect monopoly, a perfect competition, okay, monopoly and monopolistic competition. Okay, so perfect competition, monopolistic competition. We will analyze oligopoly decision in another chapter, uh, and examine more sophisticated pricing strategies in another chapter. Okay. With an understanding of the concept presented in this chapter, you will be able to prepare to manage a firm that operates in virtually any environment. So because this is the beginning of our analysis of output decision of making manager operating in industry, it is logical to start with this simplest case where it's to a situation where managerial decision have no perceptible impact on the market price. Thus, in the first section in this chapter, we will analyze output decision. Output decision of manager operating in perfectly competitive markets. And then we will examine output decision by firm that have a market power, like a monopoly and monopolistic competition. Okay. Okay, as you can see from there, we will begin our analysis by examining the output decision of manager operating in perfectly competitive market. So the key condition for perfect competition, as you can see from this slide, okay, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, five condition. Okay, the first one, there are many buyers and sellers in the market, each of which is small relative to the market. And then the second, each firm in the market produces a homogeneous or identical product. And then the third condition, buyers and sellers have perfect information. Buyers and sellers have perfect information. And then there are no transaction costs, and there is free entry into and exit from the market. Okay, so taken together, the first four assumptions imply that no single firm can influence the price of the product. Okay, the fact that there are many small firms each selling an identical product, okay, means that some consumer views the product of all firms in the market as perfect substitutes. Because there is a perfect information, consumer know the quality and price of each firm's product. There are no transaction costs, such as the cost of traveling to a store. If one firm charges a slightly higher price, then the other firms, consumer would not stop at the firm, but instead would purchase from a firm charging a lower price. Thus, in a perfectly competition or perfectly competitive market, all firms charge the same price for the good, and this price is determined by interaction of all buyers and sellers in the market. Yeah. And as you can see from the last condition, the fifth condition, yeah, the assumption of free entry and exit simply implies that additional firms can enter the market if economic profit are being earned, and firms are free to leave the market if they are sustaining losses. As we will show later in this chapter, this assumption implies that in the long run, so firm operating in a perfectly competitive market earn zero economic profit. Okay? So one classic example for perfectly competitive market is agriculture. So there are many farmers and ranchers, and each is so small relative to the market that he or she has no perceptible impact on the prices of corn or wheat or other meats like beef or pork. So agricultural products tends to be homogeneous. There is a little difference between corn produced by farmers named John and corn produced by farmers named Smith. So the retail market for several type of computer hardware, for example, a physical component of a computer such as memory, also is close to perfect competition. So a quick look at any price comparison site online reveals that there are many computer hardware retailers, each selling identical brand of computer hardware and charging a similar price for a given product. So the reason there is so little price variation is that if one retailer charge a higher price than a competitor, consumer would purchase from other retailer. So as simple as that. So consumer can change to other retailer, as simple as that. Okay. So this is the key application for firms. As a price taker, in the short run, firms may earn profit or losses. Entry and exit for forces long run profit to zero. Okay. And why that's we learn about this, because many it seems like unrealistic. It seems like unrealistic in the in the real case, in the real world. Actually seem like they are not situation like we discussed, and not a condition as we discussed. That means sometimes in even in a small firm, in the homogeneous product, they still offer different price. So because we learn about this, because many small businesses are price takers, and decision rule for such firm are similar to those of perfectly competitive firms. And we can use it as a benchmark, because we know if we uh, learn about some things, or we know we got information, the interaction between, because as we discussed earlier, okay, the price was will determine by the interaction between the sellers and buyers. So it is very useful for benchmark. Okay, and then explain why government oppose monopolies. Because this is there are lots of advantage for complete or uh, what we call as a perfect competition. So explain why that's our government oppose monopolies. So eliminates the danger to managers to competitive environment. Eliminates the danger to managers of competitive environments, and then because it is show us how important of the product differentiation, and then to get a sustainable advantage. So how does you as a manager can manage perfectly a competitive firm or price taking business? Price taking business. That means you have to follow what the market price, and you have to offer what the market price and your firm price. Because this is show us the equilibrium of price, price equilibrium for market, and price demand for our firm. But it will same. That means we are a price taking business. If we offer price above, if a firm offer price above this price equilibrium, there's a cross section here, they offer here, so that means firm will run in loss. So this is the point that we want to remember here. In order to manage a perfectly competitive firm, we have to offer, we have to put the price same as follow with the market price equilibrium. And then the market price equilibrium, the quantity for okay, the market price equilibrium will be determined by the cross section between supply and demand here. Sorry about this situation. Okay. So this concept will be used for us, to determine, okay, how many output that we want to produce for our firm. So that's we can maximize the profit, because we can't determine our price anymore. In perfect competition, okay, price will be determined by the market. So we have to follow, right? And then after we realize, and in this situation, in perfect competition, perfect competitive market, the issue for us, okay, the target for firm is to maximize the profit through output decision, through the output decision. Okay, in this concept, that means marginal revenue must equal to marginal cost, and then since marginal revenue equal to price, okay, and then sets P equal to marginal cost to maximize the profit. Okay, how that we want to see in graphically. Okay, this is more easy for us to understand. Okay, that means, okay, as you can see from here, yeah, profit is equal to price equilibrium minus average total cost, minus average total cost. So that means we must, as a manager, we must set our average target cost must be below from the price equilibrium, okay, and times of quantity of demand of our firm. Okay, so the point of quantity of demand that we can see from here is the cross section between the price equilibrium and the marginal cost here, yeah, and the marginal cost. So this is the point, okay, we can maximize our profit. Okay, this is the point that we want to remember, how that we can manage a perfectly competitive firm by output decision, right? So this green area is our profit. This green area is our profit. Okay. So this is a numerical example given. Let's say price is $10. The cost times quantity equal to 5 plus quantity 2. So optimal price, a price equal to 10. Okay, what is the optimal output? It means when we know that optimal price is $10. Okay, so we can decide how many output that we will produce. So marginal revenue equal to P equal to 10 and MC, and marginal cost equal to 2Q. Okay, this is a formula that we will use. And then tens equal to 2Q, Q equal to tens, equal to 5 units. That means in this case, the maximum output, the optimal output that we can produce is 5 units. And from that we can calculate, we can determine the maximum profit for this. That means $20. Okay, this is another thing that we have to remember, sometimes in real situation, we know uh, we have to know whether we have to shut down or still continue our production or not. So this graph showing us the situation where we can see the average total cost is above the price equilibrium. So in this situation, that means green area is a loss. Is a loss, not no longer as a profit for the firm. So that means if you can see from here, okay, this is the concept where okay, the profit is below than zero. Profit below than zero. So marginal cost, if you still produce in the section of marginal cost, you can see, okay, the average total cost is above above of our price equilibrium. Average total cost, you still remember, right? Is average per cost per unit. Average cost per unit. Let's say average cost per unit for here. Okay, you must quantity. Okay, divided by no, by revenue divided divided by uh, Q. Right, R divided by Q. So that's the average total cost. So it's above from the price equilibrium here. So that means in this situation we must try to consider whether we have to still run this production or shut down. Okay, so this is the issue that we will discuss also in further after this. Okay, we have to shut down. This is the guideline for us to shut down decision rule. A profit maximizing firm should continue to operate. Profit maximizing firm should continue to operate, sustain short run loss if its operating loss is less than its fixed cost. Okay, uh, you can consider to still continue, okay, still continue to operate if its operating loss is less than its fixed cost. So operating result in a smaller loss than increasing operation. So decision rule is based on a firm should shut down when the P price is lower than minimum average cost. You should shut down. Should shut down when price is lower or smaller than minimum average cost. But you can continue operating as long as P is bigger or price is bigger or equal to minimum average cost. This is the decision rule. Okay, from short run supply curve, right? So minimum P minimum average cost, right? So as you can see from here, okay, this is the situation. For example, this is a good example for us to see the average total average cost. Average cost, yeah, is bigger. Average cost is bigger than price. That means in this situation we have to shut down. We have to shut down. This is the decision rule for this case. As you can see from here, average total cost is lower than the price equilibrium, and average total cost in this case you still can run. Sometimes you can consider to still run, even though that you can see this kind of loss. But when it's come to this situation, you can see the average cost and average total cost is bigger than the price here. Okay, in the line of price here, the price average cost. I mean, this is the point that you have to decide to shut down operation. Okay, that's the concept for perfectly competitive market, and then uh, how that you can maximize your profit through output decision, and then to decide whether you have to still run or shut down your production. Okay, and then when it's come to managing a monopolistic competitive firm, this is another one's type of, okay, another one type of company. Okay. Okay, that's it. Okay, managing a monopolistically competitive firm. Okay, so like a monopolistically competitive firm have a market power that permits pricing above marginal cost. So you to take note about what different of monopoly and monopolistically competitive firm. Okay, monopolistically competitive firm is in between of monopoly and perfectly competitive firm or market. So like a monopolistically competitive firm have a market power that permits pricing above marginal cost. So that's one character of monopolistically competitive firm, have a market power that permits pricing above the marginal cost, and level of sale depend on the price it sets. So it's not 100% depend on the market price. So level of sales depends, okay, on the price it sets, but the presence of other brand in the market, okay, makes the demand for your brand more elastic than if you were a monopolist. Free entry and exit impact profitability. Therefore, monopolistically competitive firm have limited market power. Okay? Monopolistically competitive firm have limited market power. Okay, this is the concept as you can see graphically. Okay, marginal revenue like a monopolist. Yeah. Okay, this is a price and a quantity. Okay, marginal revenue, and then total revenue and a quantity. So we try to achieve this point, the unit elastic. Okay. Okay, how that we can maximize the profits in monopolistically or monopolistic competition. Okay, so maximize profit like a monopolist. I mean, you have to produce output where marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. Then charge the price on the demand curve that correspond to that quantity. So this is how we can relate with this point. So you can charge, okay, the price, okay, based on this is a price, okay, and you can charge the price on the demand curve that correspond to that quantity. All right, so when we can see from here, okay, we try to achieve a bigger revenue, maybe after that 100 sorry 1200 here. Okay, you can see this is the biggest profit that we can produce for monopolistic competition company. Okay, okay, it's quite similar with our uh, graphic or with the perfect competitive graph previously. Yeah, This is the price for monopolistic competition, and then the average total cost, and this is the area for profit. Okay, so we must produce when average when the average total cost cross here. Okay, and of course average total cost must be lower than the price of monopolistic here. And if the industry is truly, if industry is truly monopolistically competitive, there is free entry. Okay, there is free entry. In this case, other greedy capitalists enter, and their new brands steal market share. So, as you can see, there is a free entry. So if you quit from this market, that means the new brand will steal the market share. What we call as a greedy capitalist enter here. So this reduces the demand for your product until profits are ultimately zero. Okay. Okay, this is the graph showing us the long run monopolistic competition. Okay, the long run monopolistic competition. You have to uh, give a focus on the long run equilibrium here. Okay, long run equilibrium. So when you see the new entry effect, the new entry effect from uh, D to D1, from D to D1. So the demand, okay, for your own product will be reduced, will be reduced, and then the effect of the quantity, maybe from here, so zero profit, so price equal to average cost, and then you can earn zero profit. Okay, so something for us to take note as well, the monopolistic competition, the good to consumer, that means we have our power to choose, because there are a lot of product variety compared to the monopoly. So monopolistic competition can give a good to consumer. Okay, and then the bad to society is price. Okay, it's bigger, or price is bigger to marginal cost, and then excess capacity, unexploited economies of scale. Okay, in economy, if we still remember the concept of economies of scale. Okay, very good example is in pharmaceutical industry, for example. We can see the pharmaceutical industry sometimes will produce two or three product in one time, for the same purpose. Okay, so that's the exploitation of economies of scale, right? So access the capacity, so unexploited economies of scale, because when monopolistic company, a monopolistic competition company, okay, uh, enter the market and then produce a brand. Okay, they will produce, they have their capacity bigger compared to the perfect competition company, normally goes to the small company. So monopolistic competition normally is a bigger company, and can apply for the big loan, has a big capacity in their capital. So instead of producing one product, they will produce maybe two or three product in the market with the same purposes. Okay, so that's what we call as economies of scale, right? It's different compared to economies of uh, also sorry I'm economies of scale is refer to quantity. What I explain and give example just now is economies of scope. Sorry, that understanding about that. Okay, unexploited economies of scale. Okay, and then it's refer to the uh, quantity that we can offer in economies of scale. The ugly to managers, yeah, that mean price average to average equal to average total cost, because that's minimum of average cost in zero profits in the long run. Okay, so this is a concept we explain here. So unlike a perfect competitive uh, firm or a perfect competitive market, yeah, uh, monopolistic competitive firm normally will uh, do advertising to increase or to make sure that they can introduce their product or brand to buyers. So advertising is another one way. It's unlike for perfect competitive market. They don't sometimes they don't have to do advertisement because it's not it's not affect so much to them. Okay, so advertising is one way for firms with market power to differentiate their products. But how much should a firm spend on advertising? That's the issue. So advertise to the point where the additional revenue generated from advertising equals the additional cost of advertising. Okay. Then equivalently, the profit maximizing level of advertising occurs where the advertising to sales ratio equal the ratio of advertising elasticity of demand to the own price elasticity of demand. Okay, so in this case, okay, normally uh, monopolistic competitive firm, okay, will spend their uh, revenue fraction to advertisement. So this is the formula for the profit maximizing advertising to sale ratio. Okay, the profit maximizing advertising to sales ratio is given by A divided R equal to EQA divided by E, okay, minus EQP, where EQP represent the own price elasticity of demand for the firm product. EQA is the advertising elasticity of demand for the firm's product. So A represent the firm's expenditure on advertising. R equal to PQ. Okay, PQ denotes, okay, the value of the firm sale. That is the firm's revenue. Okay, product price times quantity. So this is the synthesizing example. Sorry, maximizing, okay, profit. Yeah, the cost times quantity equal to 125. Okay, plus 4 Q2. So determine the profit maximizing output and price, and discuss its implication. If you are price taker, okay, and other firm charge $40 per unit, right? So you are a monopolist and the inverse demand for your product is P equal to 100 minus Q. So you are a monopolistically competitive firm and the inverse demand for your brand is P equal to 100 minus Q. Okay. That's is a marginal cost. Okay, C minus C times Q. Okay, 125 plus 4Q, okay, power 2, and then so MC, so marginal cost equal to XQ. So this is independent of market structure. Okay. Okay, this is the marginal cost, and then the price taker. For price taker, marginal revenue equal to P, okay, price equal to 40, okay. So margin set marginal revenue equal to marginal cost, 40 equal to AQ, AQ equal to 5 units. So cost of producing 5 units, okay, let's say here, okay, equal to $225. So revenues, okay, revenues, it means in this case $200. So maximum profit of 35 minus 35, okay. uh, so that means in this situation, okay, you can see the implication is expect exit in the long run, because you can see this is minus 35, right? But in the monopolistic competition, marginal revenue, as you can see from here, okay, 100 minus 2Q. So since P equal to 100 minus Q, so since MR, marginal revenue, equal to marginal cost, or 100 minus 2Q equal to AQ, okay, optimal output, okay, quantity that we have to produce in here is 10, is 10, okay, quantity Q equal to 10, optimum price is 90, okay, maximum profits you can see here is 375, yeah. So implication, monopolies will not face entry, okay. Monopolies will not face entry unless pattern or other entry barrier are eliminated. So monopolistically competitive firms should expect other firms to clone, so profit will decline over time, okay. So in conclusion for this topics, firm operating in a perfectly competitive market take the market price as given. Firm operating a perfectly competitive market, okay, so take a market price as given. So this is first character or condition we can see for perfectly competitive, that means they just only they are just a price taker, so produce output where P equal to marginal cost, uh, that means price equal to marginal cost. That means marginal cost price must be higher compared to marginal cost. So firms may earn profit or losses in the short run, but in the long run, entry or exit forces profits to zero. Okay. So monopoly firm, in contrast, can earn persistent, okay, profit provided that source of monopoly power is not eliminated. Okay. Okay. Source of monopoly power, provided that source of monopoly power is not eliminated. So if government, for example, interrupt with this situation, that means something will be eliminated, so monopoly power will affect, and a monopolistically competitive firm can earn profits in the short run, but entry by competing brands, okay, will erode this profit over time, okay. All right, so that's all for chapter number 8, okay. There are some concepts that we have covered, for this, okay. You can see from this overview, the characteristic and profit outlook and effect of new entrants, okay. So source of monopoly power, maximizing monopoly profit, and pros and cons, okay. And it's monopolistic competition in terms of profit maximizing and long run equilibrium. All right, that's all. Thank you very much for chapter number 8. See you again.